Hi everybody, this is calculus, pre-calculus, and this is chapter 2, part 1, the idea of a function. So functions are the building blocks of calculus and almost all mathematics beyond calculus. A function is a rule or a formula which takes an input number, makes a calculation, and then yields an output number. Okay, so the input number goes in, the calculation goes, and then the output number comes out. In this respect, a function is like a computer routine, which has a single input and a single output. The calculation may be very simple. For example, the function might be just put out 78.3 regardless of what the input number is, or it may be complicated. So for example, we've got our input number, goes through our calculation, and then comes the output number. Okay, so the function is like a machine that runs the calculation, and then the output number comes out. For example, the function is the formula that converts Fahrenheit temperature to Celsius temperature. So our input number is going to be our Fahrenheit, right? And our output number is going to be the Celsius temperature. So our input, this F, stands for the input number. So that's our input. And our F is our our C, our Celsius, as our output. In other words, we put the Fahrenheit degrees in, we run the calculation, and then the Celsius degrees comes out. Okay? It's possible to have a function which does different calculations depending upon what the input number is. So a comparatively simple income tax function might be multiply the input number by 0.15 if the number is less than 30,000, and by 0.28 if the number is over 30,000. So depending on what the number is, our function is going to be different. The one rule for functions is if you feed in the same input number, no matter how many times, 5 million times, the function has to yield the same output number. So every time we put in an input number that is the same, say input 4, and our function has to have the same output no matter how many times we put that same input number in. A calculation that says something like multiply the input number by 7 if the time is 2 p.m. or earlier, otherwise add 56, is not a legal function. That wouldn't be a function. If you feed the number 10 in, you will not get the same output number at noon as you will at 3 p.m. Okay? All right. Function notation, and we've covered this in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. A function is usually defined by an equation which looks something like this. So f of x, that means the function of x equals 2x minus 7. The x on both sides of it is the input number. So x is our input number. This is our function. F is the name of the function. And that when it's multiplied, or whatever calculation we do, if we do 2x minus 7, it's going to be your output number. Okay? All right, so here's your input. Let's say that we run this function, f of x equals 2x minus 7. Let's say we want to find, so it's going to ask us to find f of, let's say, 2. That means everywhere in the function, in the calculation part of the function, I'm going to put a 2. Okay? So that'll be 2 times 2 minus 7. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 7, that's going to be negative 3. Okay? You could do any number in there. Let's say we needed to find f of 4. Okay? So we would say 2 times x, or x is going to be 4 minus 7. 2 times 4, whoops, that's supposed to be a 7. Okay, 2 times 4 would be 8 minus 7 equals 1. So f of 4 is our input, would equal 1. That would be our output. All right. Therefore, this function multiplies the input number by 2, then subtracts 7. The result is the output number. Okay, sometimes we refer to the output number as the value of f at x. The left-hand side of the equation is usually read f of x. All right, functions of a particular number. To find the output number from a function, when a particular number is used as input, substitute the input number for the x's, that's like I just did in the equation, which defines the function. If we substitute 3 into the example of above, so they're asking us to find f of 3, we're going to substitute 3 every time we have x, and we get -1. That's our output. Okay, this one is our input, is 3. In words, the equation is f of 3 equals -1. We feed the number 3 into the function f, the output number will be -1. We also say that the value of f at 3 is -1. Of course, the equation in the example above gives us no information at all about what happens when numbers other than 3 are used as input into f, so we use the notation with x when first defining the function. All right, so this part's your homework. It's going to be the exercises for functions, exercise 1, okay, on your worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and do this first one for you. So this one says, let f of x equal 5 minus 3x, and we're supposed to find, for a right here, f of 1. So all I'm going to do is take this 1 is going to be my input, and I'm going to find the output. So my function is 5 minus 3x, so f of x equals 5 minus 3x, and we have to find f of 1. Okay, so all I have to do is take this 1 and plug it in wherever I see an x. So I'm going to have 5 minus 3 times 1. 3 times 1 would be 3. So I have 5 minus 3, that's going to equal 2. So f of 1 is equal to 2. Easy peasy. All right, this next part, let f of x be, this one has a fraction here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to put our 3 in wherever we see x. Okay, so if we've got x plus 3 over x minus 2, we've got f of 3. So that means I'm going to do 3 plus 3 over 3 minus 2. 3 plus 3 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. That's going to equal 1. So f of 3 equals 1. All right, this one has a quadratic. So we've got f of x equals 2x squared minus x plus 7. For a, we're supposed to find f of 1. So that means we're going to put our 1 wherever we have an x. Okay, so that means 2 times 1 squared minus 1 plus 7. 2 times 1, or 1 squared will be 1. So we're going to have 2 times 1, which would just be 2. All right, minus 1 plus 7. 2 minus 1 would be 1 plus 7 equals 8. So f of 1 is going to be equal to 8. Okay, pretty easy. Number 4 has us define the functions below with functional notation. So I'm going to take these words right here, and I'm going to turn that into a function notation. So I'm going to say f of x equals the function which adds 3 to the input number. My input number is always going to be x, and then I need to add 3 to that. So f of x equals x plus 3. I'm just adding 3 to my input. All right, super easy, and that's it for this lesson, the idea of a function.